how's it going? Thanks for joining me today. What's up, Burnt Toast? Good to see you. Today, just jumping right into it. First, thanks for joining me, whether it's here on Twitch or on YouTube. I really appreciate the support. Today, we are building the MechWild Mercutio. It's a 40% FR4 based keyboard. So let us hop right into that. Here we have our lovely PCB. Just got it in not too long ago, a couple weeks I think. Mercutio. Okay, right on. I like it. But yeah, it's a through-hole style FR4 sandwich PCB keyboard assembly. It has an OLED display and an encoder. Sorry, who are you? I apologize. I feel like I should know you, but I do not. Oh, really? Well, it is an honor to have you on stream. I'm suddenly way more nervous than I would have been. So hopefully this goes well. I've been in the Discord and I am well aware that I need to solder everything from the top. I've seen some posts about that, so I will be sure to do that. So thanks for joining, honestly. That's really cool of you to be here for this stream. But yeah, I will, if I have any questions during the build, it's cool that you'll be around. Oh, my auto mod is very aggressive. I apologize. It's been on a tear deleting people's messages. Cool. Alrighty. So I think for starters, let's just get this PCB up and running. I have the build guide pulled up. Cool. Sounds good. I have built a few of these style boards, so I'm, you know, reasonably confident that it'll work out, but we'll see. So here's my grubby mat that I use for soldering purposes. Let me also grab my fan. Okay. So step one is to solder the USB. Cool, we can do that. I have some flux and we can do a quick little drag solder. That should be no problemo. Let's get these parts out though. Ooh, like these feet. Sweet. And then yeah, here we go. Well, all the diodes. I do have my makeshift diode bender made of popsicle sticks, 2 knobs too. I'm pretty sure I ordered both colors, and I like them both. I like the white PCB too. I'm usually a black PCB kind of guy, but I'm putting DSA paperwork on this set, so I'm excited about kind of the contrast there. Alrighty. Wait, are there 2 OLED displays here? Kind of looks like it. Okay. Nice, nice. I didn't know they had a surprise extra sale. I think that set's really cool because it's like, you know, it's a 40% exclusive and there's not a lot of sets that support 40%, let alone are exclusive for 40% just with the basic group buy. So, yeah, kind of a neat deal. Okay. Yeah, so it looks like we'll be putting the USB port on first. So let me grab that. And let me also get out my soldering iron and some flux and some solder. Let's turn on some extra light here, shall we? Just so I can see a little bit easier. while that is heating up, let's get this USB-C port off of here, and then we can proceed with that. Let me zoom in a little bit too, just to give a closer look at this. This is the header where the USB-C port will go, or this is the spot on the PCB. This is the top side. So we will insert it here, solder in the feet, and then drag solder the pins, of which there are quite a few. You can see them here. There's, I believe USB-C is 16, but it might be more. Anyways, yeah, that's so where are we at here? Heating up. Let's turn on my fume extractor. That's better. Okay, which I have a smart plug for Home Assistant to do that. All right, fume extractor. Pretty good. Yes. Very cool. Oh, haha. Sure it is. Okay. And now put a little bit of flux on there so we can do a little drag solder on this guy. Might have been too much, but I have paper towels to grab the excess. But let's try it. So I'm going to get a blob of solder on the soldering iron. Sweet. That looks pretty good. We'll find out once it's fully connected. I do have a multimeter I can use to check that, but it's very tight, so I'll probably if it doesn't boot at all when I plug it in, that'll be the first thing I check. So, thank you. All right. So the next thing we do are the resistors. That would be for R4, R5, and diode 48 and diode 47, which are labeled on this PCB. So they are to the left of these USB ports. So. Let's see. Let's look up the R4 and R5 are 5.6K resistors, and those are going to be the green, blue, black, which are these guys, and then these are the two diodes that we want. So we will put these resistors on. Resistors are effectively just like a narrower section of the pipe, so Excuse me, I'm trying to get to my garbage can. They're like a narrower section of the pipe through which electricity flows, so you don't really need to worry about orientation because they go both ways. Diodes are the opposite. So I have this thing I made. It's 4 popsicle sticks, 2 set slightly lower than the others, and it's very helpful for, you can stick a diode or a resistor into it and then bend the leads around, and typically that'll be a perfect bend for a PCB. Now, let's see. Oh yeah. Typically what I do, just for the sake of the visuals of the PCB, is I will, and I know you're supposed to solder these from the underside, but I'll insert them from the top and then solder, like bend the leads so they don't move, and then solder them from the top, because I find that that just kind of provides a more uniform look on the top surface, which is what I'm looking at most of the time. So anyways, I know there's more than one way to skin that cat, but it does require slightly more cleanup, because you have to, usually the flux will brown a little bit, or the solder mask on the PCB. So you gotta go over it with a little alcohol wipe afterwards to clean that up. Otherwise you'll have yellow spots. But okay. And now for these diodes. Man, this cable is wily tonight. It is. Maybe it's because I keep it coiled up. Maybe I shouldn't do that. Alright, so on these 2 diodes, let me just confirm that's the case. It is. They are more like a one-way valve than a narrower section of pipe, so you want to have the black side, which determines orientation, lined up with the black stripe on the PCB. Yeah, I have noticed that too. I always find that strange when that happens, and so it annoys me, but I don't know. It is the way it is. Fortunately, I think most of them have pads on both sides, which is nice. But yeah. Let's also clip these leads before this gets too far away from me. Okay, so now we have our 2 diodes. I should really scoot everything further up the frame, shouldn't I? I feel like it's hard to see way down here. These, there we go. Okay, let's get those boys soldered in. Clip these leads. Alrighty. Next, we will attach the three R3. I believe is what they're called. R1, R2, and R3. And I think that's these three. They're all the same. Yes. No. Which ones are they? Oh, no. They're not all the same, but they are those three. So the top one is going to be this guy that's on his own. And then the bottom two will go below it. Sweet. Cool. I know that orientation doesn't matter on resistors, but it really bugs me when the colored stripes don't align. So I'll usually kind of make them just for my own sake. Okay. We'll get the spacing right. Then we'll hit them with some solder. Excellent. Okay, those three are good. Now we need the fuse. Great. This guy. Just gonna go and slot F1 and then bend back. Question is, do we want text up or text down? I vote text down. And for these, I'll typically bend them and then solder them after, just so that I can kind of get the alignment I want. Okay. So now we need the capacitors and this crystal oscillator, I believe is what this is. And this is one that I do need to solder from the bottom because I cannot get to it from the top. I am a software developer and I work for an electrical engineering firm. So I have like a passing understanding of a lot of what these things are, but It's really just enough to be dangerous. Okay. And then these two guys go on either side of it, with the blue one on the far right. Okay, and then the next capacitor. Tape off the legs here. There we go. Okay, so that's all the small, sort of orientationless capacitors. I believe this last one is big enough that it should have an orientation. Yes, okay, cool. And it has one long leg, one short leg, and a colored stripe. So that white stripe will go towards the top, I believe it says. White line, yes, okay. This one I also need to solder from the other side. Okay. Great. It's looking good so far. I like this. Alright, so now the reset and boot buttons can go here. Solder them in from the bottom. Let's make sure they're nice and aligned. Probably won't trim anything on that. Oh yeah, instructions say you don't need to. I can also fold them down. Excellent. I'll just do that. Okay, now we're gonna solder on the holder for the MCU. One of the things that is important is that you do not solder the socket with the MCU in it because the heat can damage it. So, yeah. And then there's a little scooped cutout on the socket that aligns with the silk screen on this PCB, which also aligns with the little notch on the MCU. So that is a nice guide to make sure that I don't mess up my orientation. So usually what I'll do is I'll prop it up on the socket just to make sure that it's held high enough, and then I'll hit a couple corners just to make sure everything is roughly aligned, make any adjustments, and then I'll solder the rest of the legs in place. But maybe I'll even use, oh yeah, that's good. So we'll hit this leg and then come around and I'll push up while I melt the solder, and that'll fully seat it. And then I'll hit the next leg and do the same thing, and then I think it should be okay after that. Sweet. Alright, so the socket is now flush to the PCB, so I can proceed to solder all the rest of the pins on. And let's get this flipped over for maximum fume extraction for the sake of my lungs. Excellent. Wow. So the socket is now in place. I'm probably just going to leave the MCU off for now. Just not lose him over here. And then D46. Interesting. So we install one diode for testing purposes. Cool. Well, I can do that. That's actually really smart. Testing the whole thing before you go through and solder. I'm assuming that's what's going to happen. Test this whole thing before I go through and solder every single one of these diodes. Now, the OLED. Let's get that out. Solder this little 4-pin header onto it with the short legs through. And then we'll attach the whole thing to the rest of this assembly shortly thereafter. Let's make sure this is relatively straight. I could stick it in a breadboard just to be extra sure, but I think I'm reasonably confident in this, so I will. Okay, got my 4 pins there. Okay. We're going to solder the furthest circle pin, not square. Okay. And then straighten it so it's kind of suspended off the PCB a little bit. Like, that's not quite right. You can bend it a touch. That looks pretty good. And then we'll solder the other ones and clip these leads. All right. Oh. Whoa. Okay. Got those little pins off. Now we'll grab our encoder. Put that there. So it has the 3 on one side. You can see that the encoder itself has 3 pins on one side and 2 on the other, and then these clips, and so does the spot for it. It also supports an MX style switch, which is cool. So you could opt out of having an encoder and just have an extra key up there, which I think is neat. But the cool thing is you can click an encoder, so it almost acts like both. So we take those. All right. Encoder is in place. Yes, and now we insert this chip. And the instructions do a good job. I actually haven't seen instructions that say to do this before, but I always have to, where you take your MCU and you put it on a hard surface and you kind of roll it to straighten the pins, because they always are a little bit splayed and won't fit quite right. I like that touch in the instruction manual because it has caused me a lot of frustration in the past before I knew to do that. So, all right, so let's get this guy inserted. It's kind of the same feeling of like when you're closing the lid on a new CPU in a computer build, where it's kind of that crunchy feeling as it goes in. Ideally not too crunchy. How are we doing? It doesn't look like it's quite seating properly. Let's get it out. Oh yeah, we got a couple pins that are going weird on me. Let me get a pair of pliers and adjust those. Okay. Cool. That felt much better. It looks like it's seated correctly, at least from what I can tell. So, now we're going to test. I have a spare USB-C cable, so let me turn off this fume extractor. We will need it again, but... And then, I'm going to plug it in. Oh, look at that. It enumerated. It was found by Windows. It has a lovely little logo. That's fantastic. Look at that. And it's changing the volume in Windows. That's perfect. I'm assuming that diode is hooked up to the... Yeah. Yes, it is. The switch clicks, so yeah. That's excellent. I'm very happy with that. Okay, well, now we unplug it. Sweet. Yeah. I like that splash screen too. That's really cool. I've actually never built... I've built keyboards on this stream before that supported OLED displays, but I've never actually installed one on one, so this is kind of cool. I also need to dip my hands a little bit into dealing with QMK firmware for OLED, because I have not gotten there yet, but... Alright, so what I typically do is I'll just cut a little chunk of diodes that'll fit in my diode bending apparatus, like such, and just bend them all over, because ain't nobody got time to bend these by hand. Cool. There's one set. We'll do another, and then we should have everything bent. It's also really nice when the MCUs come pre-flashed with the firmware, because it's like, it's just one less thing to worry about when you first plug in a through-hole board, because there's already enough to be worried about. Okay, sweet. We don't need this foam anymore, or that cardboard. So, let's get these installed. I think I'm going to do them in batches of 5, so we can go from left to right. 4, 5. And again, on these parts, orientation does matter. These are one-way valves effectively for electricity, and so you gotta line up the black bar. those. Alright. Fortunately, this is a really small board, so there's not a ton of diodes to go. Someday I'm gonna find myself with a full-size, like 104 key through-hole monstrosity, if they even make those. And it's gonna take me an eternity. The barley corn was close. That one took a minute, but it was still like 12 or 18 keys short, so. Yeah, I feel like just the stress of it too, you know, just like trying to figure out if it'll work or not. And having some, like, I almost always will miss like one side of one diode, but just having one key not work when you're testing it is kind of freaky. Also, I feel like someday someone's gonna make a through-hole PCB keyboard kit where like one diode is backwards and needs to be soldered in backwards just as a joke, and it's gonna ruin my life. Like, even if it's on the silk screen, I get going and I don't check every single one. Getting a whole bunch of notifications here. Cool. I started a chia farm this week for the chia crypto, and between my two friends and I, we had like 100 terabytes worth of hard drives available for plotting chia. And they had an online calculator that estimated what the profitability of that would be, and it was reasonable. It was not huge, but it was decent. And it was anticipating that one chia would exchange for about 20 bucks on some sort of exchange. But today it officially started trading, and it started out at like $2,000, and it's been dropping since. It's like 800 right now, but that's considerably more than I thought, so I wish it didn't take so long to plot a hard drive, though. But I got that going on the side over here.
all these are reasonably straight and centered on their respective silk screens. Looking good.
It's always nice to do it in 2 passes. You know, you align them as much as you can, then you straighten them now that they've got a fixed point after you've soldered one side, and then you align them again. Just for appearance's sake, you know, you don't want to wonky looking. Oh, sure, that makes sense. That's probably more efficient too, because I'm like, you can just kind of get in a groove. That's true. I'm trying to think about what would be a real power move. I feel like a real power move for a board like this too would be like doing a full solder up, stabs included, you know, stabs, plate, caps, everything, and then plugging it in for the first time. Like, that's confidence. That confidence I do not have. I'm curious, if you are the co-founder of MechWild, how many of these have you built yourself? Like, is it just kind of a... I suppose if you offer, like, pre-assembled versions, which I think I saw on your website, I can't remember, then you'd probably be doing a lot. Okay. Gotcha, okay. Yeah, that's the name I recognized from the Discord. It was silly. He was like... I had a good belly laugh the other day reading through Discord. He was like wanting to stream, but there was like a lawnmower or a garbage truck or something, and he was losing his mind. It was very funny. Let me just pull all these out, actually. That would be more efficient. Okay. There we go. Now we got a good old-fashioned diode pile, which may have been a mistake because now I have to check the orientation on every single one. But that's the price you got to pay for a good old-fashioned diode pile. Eh. Okay. Fun fact, if you have flush cut trimmers that have a burr on the edge of them because you've been abusing them and cutting things you shouldn't, that burr can scratch a trace on a PCB and completely cut that circuit. I've definitely done that more than once, and it is a nightmare to try to figure it out and jump whatever connections are broken with like wire wrap wire. And so I have like my good flush cut trimmers now that I always use to cut leads on PCBs so I don't end up scratching the traces off. I remember the first time that happened. That was one of the first boards I ever made, and it was a Keybio. It was either a sync or a... No, the sync wasn't out yet. Qfrency, I think is how you pronounce it. And the only like through-hole component you had to solder was a Arduino Pro Micro, which is a relatively easy thing to solder, but I was trying to trim the headers off the underside so it would fit in the case, and I scratched two of the traces on the PCB and had to jump it with wire just to get it to work. But just the like that sinking feeling when you mess up hardware, especially as like a software guy, and you're like, oh no, I have to try to figure out what I did and how to fix it. I got my minor in computer engineering in college, and so because of that I had to take like 3 or 4 400 level like senior double E courses, and they were so hard, just at least for me, like being used to the way you debug software as opposed to the way you would debug some sort of like rat's nest on a breadboard that is most senior level double E stuff, or figure out why your FPGA code isn't working. Give me like flashbacks. All right. 2 more of these banks left, and then we will test the PCB, check all the traces for every key, make sure that that's all good, and then load this baby up. We are using Dojicons. They're a Doge colored JWK switch that was actually a disaster relief fundraiser. But I think they're cute and they'll look good on this little board because they are like yellow and white. Should be perfect with the gold knob and the white PCB. Okay, last batch, and there's only 4 in this one. Well, there's 5, but we already put 1 in. One. Two. Okay. Boom. That is all of, well, change my scene on myself. Alrighty. So, we've got a full bank of diodes, so in theory, every single switch should work. So let me grab my testing tweezers. We can pull up VIA and do a little bit of testing. Okay. Let's unplug this. Yes, look at that. It comes up in VIA immediately. I love it. All right, let's pull up our key tester. Backspace. Look at that. Appreciate the VIA support. I think VIA has been one of the best vehicles for getting people into this hobby, just because it's just, I feel like QMK can be so daunting. QMK Configurator is a great tool, but just adding via is really nice. Alright, this super small layout is like tricking me into thinking keys aren't working, but they definitely are. Ah. Oh, yep, Windows key works. Gets me every time. Alt, space, 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 Alt. Ah, block layer. Nice. I love that OLED support. That's really nice. This one, and I think this one. Yes. Very cool. All right. Everything seems to be working. Volume up, volume down, mute. Love it. So no need to even reprogram it, at least from where I'm standing. So now it's time to install our stabilizers. So to do that, we will collect those. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the full size shift, and I can show you what I'm talking about. I have the, yeah, here we go. Yeah, I'm gonna do the full size left shift, the full size enter. So those will be two 2U stabs, and then the split space. So I can do like space and backspace or something on those two. So I'll need 4 2U stabs. I can do that. Not bad. All right. So let me grab my stabilizers out. So I think we can, if I have enough of these gold wires, I'd love to use those. Here's 3. Ooh. I may only have 3. Let's maybe go with, I don't know, black, I suppose. 1. Oh, that's purple. Romeo? Oh, I don't know. That's funny. I typed Mercutio keyboard layout, and yeah, there's these little Romeo results down here. There's also this Grabert? I don't know what this is, but interesting. That's funny. Okay, so we got our 4 wires. We will need 8 of these. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We'll need a bag of screws and 8 of these. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Cool. All right, so we're just gonna lube these real quick, and then we will be on our merry way. So I have a couple tools for that, some various lubes to get that done. So we'll start with the inside housings, or like the larger portion of the switch stabilizer. We'll lube the inside of that. Do all those guys first. It is kind of nice to. I've found, at least for me, it's a lot easier to tune a 2U stab than a 7 or 6.25. So it's kind of nice that I don't have to do that. And I am a huge fan of split space because I feel like, other than gaming, it's a little annoying because you have to remap your games. But I always map the left spacebar to backspace, so I don't have to really move my hand too much. And then I map the right one to space, obviously. So for games, you have to go in and tell it to use backspace as jump or whatever it is in your game. But other than that, I suppose you could always have a layer in QMK that switches it to both being space and then just use that for gaming too. That's a decent solution as well.
Go on.
5, 6, 7, 8. Cool. Also, we're not lubing any switches today because I've already done that, but I just got a new lube station in from Space Cables or Space Holdings. Kind of depends on who you're talking to, I suppose. I don't know, but I just got to show it off because it's super cool. It's a polycarbonate lube station that is made of like this iridescent green polycarb, which I love because you see it sometimes in like displays in stores, but it just, even with the slightest amount of natural light, it just looks like it's artificially illuminated. But it is it's pretty cool. I'm a fan, so I'm excited to use this. It also holds a lot more switches than my old lube station, and every single slot you can put the top housing in while the bottom housing is already installed, which is, on my old loop station on the left and right rows, you couldn't. You had to pull the base out to put the top on, which is profoundly annoying. So it's kind of nice. Okay. All right. So the way I do this is I will lube the inside of the outer housing, and then I will squeeze some 205 grade 2, which is really thick, into the part of the interior part of the stabilizer where the wire goes, to take up the space around the wire. And then I'll put a little bit in the kind of elbow part where the wire goes, and then it's usually pretty good after that. I know you can also lube the sides of this, but it seems a bit redundant when you're also lubing the inside of the other section. So that's my way. There are many like it, but this is mine. Okay, one down. There's a new mod for stabilizers that I recently found out about where you take a little piece of like fabric band-aid or athletic tape or something and you stick it inside where the wire will go. And I don't know how I feel about it because it seems kind of crazy to be sticking a piece of band-aid inside your stabilizer stem. I'll have to do some A/B comparisons though, because there's no substitute for science. But I mean, part of the problem is they say you have to really break it in, and some people give up on the mod before it's broken in, and I don't know what that means. Like, how many actions does it take or cycles to break it in? Not sure, so I'll find out that too. I might build a rig that uses a obloid or some sort of a oval shaped cam shaft or cam on a shaft to repeatedly hit a stabilizer and see if that if I can break it in that way and if it's actually good. I'm not sure. Is that also maybe too much work? Probably. So it may not happen, but okay, we have just about wrapped up the third of the 4. To use stabs, then I'll put a little bit of tape on the PCB where the base of the stabs go, because I find that does. Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. Thanks for stopping by. It was really cool having you. A little nerve-wracking, but really exciting to have the part of the team that designed this to be actually watching. That's super cool. Okay. Last stab. Alrighty. So this is a really pretty lube container from Divinity. I really like it. It's kind of like frosted glass with a nice metal lid. Very nice. Good on ya. All right. I had a paper towel. There it is. Next, just a wee touch of tape. You know, I really need to get better scissors. Also, actually, hold on. I might have some stuck to the side of my desk. Yes, indeed, I do. So, let's cut some pads out of this tape. And let's use some tweezers to apply them. So they'll go on the top. Actually, I think that looks like it's more than 2U, so we'll want to put one here. Yeah. Faux show. We'll put one here. That's for the left space. One here. There. Those ones are kind of covering some holes in the PCB, but alrighty. So there's that. Now let's grab the screwdriver so we can attach these stabs. All right. I believe that's fully seated. This little electronic screwdriver is definitely the most like first world product I own, but it's actually very handy to keep everything still. And also actually kind of due to its low power, it prevents me from over tightening a lot of screws too. It doesn't have like a clutch or anything like a driver, but it just kind of like gives up at a certain point, which is nice because that point is usually well before the point of any damage. Dude, we were cruising on this build. Hour and a half in and we're already putting stabs on a through-hole build. I mean, it is tiny, so shouldn't give myself too much credit, but I think I usually am just anticipating it taking a while due to maybe some sort of a soldering issue or debug where I have no earthly idea what's going on, so I'm just shooting in the dark for a while, but so far, so good. That is nice and flush. So I think what I'll do is actually, before I even put the plate on, I will put a couple switches in and just test them with keycaps to determine if they need if these stabs need additional tuning, because I have syringes with grease that I can use to add a little bit more kind of dampening if they're rattly and weird. These are Durox stabs, so they tend to be pretty high quality and be relatively consistent, so I'm not anticipating that, but like I can't assume it won't happen either. All right, 4 stabilizers. Let's put all these little screws back in the bag. And then let us do a little bit of auditory testing, shall we? Let's grab a couple switches. We have these adorable butter popcorn looking Doge switches, the Dogecon. Maybe let's do plate with plate. Let me make sure I'm not messing something up though. How is this all suspended? Okay. Plate on the bottom, standoffs, and then, okay, cool. Yeah. Okay, so it is what I thought, which is that the PCB is suspended with standoffs. Let's see. I know this is correct here, but then I just gotta make sure that this bottom portion is also correct. Actually, there's a simple way to do that. Yeah, so these, there we go. This is the way. This is the way. So these feet, I do like nice chonky feet. Very much appreciated. These will go on the bottom. Now the question is, are those important? Maybe, maybe not. They may have been there to prevent me from scratching this back plate when I attach the feet, but to be honest, I don't plan to detach the feet, so I think we'll just let it roll. Okay, so feet on. These don't belong. And then we just get this whole mess of standoffs. Great. So these can wait though. This is what I am going to test now. Let's stick a couple switches in critical locations just to hold everything straight. There we go. All right, so let's put in a couple switches for sound test purposes. There's one. Let's grab some random keycaps. The nice thing is these are, oh, let's go. That's exciting. Yeah, like I said, Divinity is ridiculously fast. I am always impressed with them. Okay, here's a 2U key. Oh, that is nice. Let's try a couple more. These are nice when you've got them. I mean, they're a JWK, so I don't know what you would expect, but they are nice when you get them lubed and filmed. They sound real tasty. I think I prefer the palm plate over everything, but yeah, FR4 has been nice. Nice, a resin wrist rest. I like those ones that look like the moon. Nice, no binding, no gummy, sticky feeling. That's very nice. Let's get these switches soldered in. Alright, I'm assuming this has long since gone to sleep, and then we will turn on my fume extractor and solder up a couple switches. Will do. I don't know if you can even get them still. I've seen them pop up every once in a while. Those, like, it looks like the surface of the moon cast in resin. They're super cool. It's kind of like a lot of artisan products though, you know, they're like, they made like 5 of them and you may never see one in the wild or get your hands on one. I don't know though. Why should I be a pessimist? Nice. Nice. Yeah, that is one nice thing, is if you're working with someone at Etsy, you can kind of get something tailored for exactly what you want. Okay. I think those are good. Great, let's put a bunch more switches in there. Yeah, and I think too, if you have like a keycap set that is like a custom color scheme almost, or like a really unique color scheme, it'd be sweet to have a wrist rest that matches your color scheme. And I feel like the GMMK Pro really lends itself to gradient keycaps, and maybe I feel that way just because they sell them with that, but I do like how they look. I have a set that hopefully I will get in quite soon, the SA Dream Eater from Mech Supply, I think. It's shipped, but it comes from Europe, so it takes a minute to get here. The irony being, it's an SA profile keycap set, so it was made in Seattle and then shipped to, I don't actually know where. I think it's somewhere in the UK is where Mech Supply's HQ is, and then packed and sent back to me. Yeah. No, it's cool to be able to do like a full workstation setup, where everything is on theme. I've never done that. I always am like, I don't know. I'm more of a pragmatist, I guess. Not in all things or ways, but often I feel like I can be. Okay. We're getting there. There's very few switches to solder on this board, so definitely makes it go quick. Oh. I think that one is missing. It's probably bent, so let's try to pull it out. Yes, sir. Got a bent pin here. Easy peasy though. Here, I'll show you what I'm talking about. The one of the pins on this switch is bent flat. So we'll just grab it, stand it up, and it should be right as rain. Cool. And then I dropped it. I had put a bunch of solder in those holes by partially soldering and then removing the switch, so I had to melt it as I kind of futzed it all the way back in. Okay. That looks good to me. Very cool. get a couple more of these in and soldered, and that will kind of solidify the plate at its current height, so everything else should just snap in after this. Okay. Oh, another bent boy. Nice to check before you actually solder, unlike the last one that I missed. Oh, come on. How dare you. If they bend too many times, they'll snap off, so you gotta be a little careful. There we go. I actually don't know. Let me check the format here. Or the layout. If I'm doing double space. Yeah. Then that'll be a 1U in the middle. Very good. Laugh. Cool. Very nice. We are not going to do a stepped caps lock on this build because DSA paperwork does not come with one. Unfortunately, but such is life. Isn't it cute? All these little Doge switches and a little white PCB. I think it's adorable. Okay. Now we check to see if all the pins look like they're through. They all felt like they were. And so far they look that way too. Yep. Okay, now we just do the old solder up. Okay. Great, great. I think we are done. This keycap obviously is incorrect, but the next step will be putting in all the standoffs to support everything. However, before we get to that, let me test this PCB one more time just to make sure I haven't done goofed it up. All right. Now we need to backspace, enter all these alphas. Caps lock is changing layers. Very nice. Right shift. Windows works. Space. Configure. Split spacebar. There we go. Sweet. So now we can key map space to backspace if we feel like it. And then on the key tester, yes, look at that. And then maybe this little middle guy as delete. I think that seems reasonable. Delete, backspace, and space. The irony being I might actually more likely hit the center one as a spacebar instead, but we'll find out. Encoder works and it clicks. Let me also, we'll save that for the end. All right, so I am satisfied that this works. So let's put our standoffs in here, which according to the build guide, we need to put in the long ones first. These guys, and they go in these top two on this side. This. Uh-oh. We lost a screw. I'll go hunting for it if I need to. For now, we're living fast and loose. And then it looks like in this little constellation, the northernmost star needs a standoff. Like such as. And then in all the other spaces go these small boys. There are a lot of standoffs in this little guy. Good security, I guess, keeps that plate from budging. Also holds up the acrylic layer, which I'm excited to install. That's a great idea. I wonder if there's a way to make QMK do that. Drew, it should show Chia current price. Were you here for that part of the stream? We were like kind of kicking ourselves because we didn't get into the Chia game early enough. Didn't think it would be so valuable. $2,000 a piece right out the gate. Sheesh. But I think since this has the Doge switches, I think Dogecoin is way more appropriate. I also have Moss switches, and that seems like it would be appropriate for Chia. There we go. Look at that. Everything aligns exactly as it should. Yeah, our profitability calculator, as of... So we have about 100 terabytes of storage that we are allocating right now. But the problem is it just takes really long to plot a drive. So it's going to be like months potentially before we have all of our storage allocated. But once that happens, at current prices, I think we'd be making, I can't remember what it was. It was like 12 grand a month or something stupid. And I seriously doubt the prices will still be there by the time we get all of our drives going. But man, it's a bit of a gold rush right now, it seems like. But yeah, it went from like 2 grand to like $800 over the course of the day. So, you know, it's still really good. It's way, way, way more than the 15 to 20 that people were estimating. Nice. Nice. Alrighty. Let's get this glass installed. Almost missed this one. Alright, any others that I missed? I don't think so. Great. Let's put a couple feet on the underside along this base. I know it doesn't matter if the feet are aligned because you're never looking at the bottom, but it matters in my heart. Ah! Okay. Cool. Excellent. Having said that, now let's clean up our workspace a little bit. I say my workspace. Let's put this shiny knob on. And then let's also remove this layer from the OLED. Let's get this guy out of commission. Let's get this guy out of here. Let's get the scissors back. Tweezies. Don't need that. Don't need the tape. Don't need the solder. Don't even need these switches. Look how many I have left over. Like, some would even say several. Okay. Let's get the USB out of here and the fan. Let's roll up L Grubby mat. Put them away. All right. And now, it's like trying to get your car keys in when you're not looking. All right. These are DSA profiles, so conveniently, they do not have a layer height or row height, so I don't really need to worry about that. Nice. This might be too, I think it's too small. I need a slightly bigger one. Like this. There she blows. Oh, interesting. We could just put a blank in there. Maybe I'll do that. I am just randomly putting keycaps on here because I don't know what any of these symbols mean, or even if they mean anything. But they're cute. Interesting. Now we have a dilemma. And this dilemma is, do I desolder, like open this up and move this switch over one? Because then it would fit a little bit better. I'm kind of tempted to. Maybe I'll assemble the rest of the keycaps and then we'll circle back. How's that sound? We're also looking for a 2U shift key in here somewhere if it's included. But I actually don't know. There's always that 0 key and also just a straight up blank. But actually it seems like it needs to be a little bit longer than that. And these are the same. This is the same. That one would be the right size. But I actually don't see one in the set. That's alright. We'll just put a blank on it. Maybe this will just be the board with gaps. And we will live with it. Because of my poor planning. ERT. See. Ooh, actually, I like the they come with both the scooped and the sort of notched homing keys, and I like the notched ones a lot better. They're the ones with the little protrusion. I have that one wrong too. Jay needs to go over one more. There we go. E, B, D, W. Oh, whew. Z. All right, now I just need the B key. There it is. I guess it is reasonable to hit this. Interesting. Okay, well, I like it. That's my prognosis. Let's do a sound test. Shall we? Don't mind if I do. All right. So, let's get this guy out of here. Get this guy plugged in. Zoom in on it a little bit. And then, let's pull up monkey type. Uh-oh. Is monkey type down? No! What am I gonna do without monkey type? This is bad timing. That's okay. Let's find another speed tester, shall we? Because the tester doesn't matter, I feel like, as much. Yeah, this one's fine. Let's... Chrome... Typings. Ah, it's actually framed up pretty good, too. Alright, this is gonna look weird, but here we go. Alright, so this is a Mercutio 40% keyboard with lubed and filmed Dogecoin switches and DSA paperwork. Okay, let's try that again. That was I need to use the backspace thumb because this backspace key is very small and a row lower. But anyways. $116, not too bad. Okay, that was the Mercutio build stream. Short, sweet, to the point. Only 2 hours, miraculously, for a through-hole build. I'm happy about that. Yeah, that was fun having one of the people who designed this board on stream. That's crazy, but that was super neat. I like this board. I think it's a I was reading on their website that kind of the point of it was to help you dive into the world of 40% without spending a fortune on it. And I think it accomplishes just that. It's fun to build, it looks good, but it's affordable. And yeah, if you give it some attention, lube your stabs and switches, it sounds nice too. The layout is, I think, pretty forgiving in terms of how you can set it up. You could split this, you could split this, you can do a full-size space or not. So it's pretty neat. This is a board that I'll probably take apart and maybe split these two and move this switch over at some point, but I'll do that off stream if I get around to it. So anyways, having said that, I think that's all I got for the day. So thank you for joining me on today's stream. I had a good time building this board. I thought it was super neat. I will be back next week. Let's check the schedule, shall we? Let's see what's on the calendar. Yeah, so today, Mercutio. I have an absinthe and a discipline that I have to build, as well as the brand new Space 65. I'm thinking that's what I'll build next week. It's actually quite similar to the Absinthe, but it's a really cool stacked acrylic board that's kind of 65% from Space Cables, and I really like it. I just got it in today, so we'll be putting that together. That's another one that's like an in-stock board. They didn't run a group buy. It was just like, it's ready now, go get it. And I thought that was really cool. So building a Space 65 with Queen switches, which are a brand new switch that I should get in this week, and then I will lube and film them. But they are a JWK switch with a multi-stage spring. So they have, it's basically a spring that has different weights at like in three different parts of it. So it should be pretty interesting. It seems like the spring and the stem are where people try to innovate with JWK switches, so that should be cool. They're kind of a translucent red. So we'll be building that. We'll be rebuilding some older keyboards. We'll be looking at some new ones. If my Ramakara ever gets here, we'll be building that. And then, yeah, just kind of cruising. We got a lot of fun stuff coming up. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate those of you who stuck through and hung out with me. That was a fun stream. Thank you for watching this on YouTube if that's where you're catching this stream. But other than that, have a good night.